Betty, we're back. I'm so excited. You know, the people have missed you lately. And I think you've been busy, though. Tell me about what you've been busy doing.
Moana.
Moana. So, if you want to know more about Moana, everybody, you check in. But you're having a good time in this musical.
Yes.
My goodness, you have quite a few performances. You have one like almost every day.
I had one earlier.
So earlier today you had one, and it was really good. It's a great story.
I'm tired.
Well, you should be tired. After all, one of the parts you play is you play the ocean.
Yes, and the mountain dancer.
And a mountain dancer.
It's very tiring. But when I'm a villager, I also I do this we do this whole circle thing, and then my group is in the middle, and then I start it.
See that? So she.
It's a line, and then.
Well, what makes me really happy about this is that when the people go to see this, and they see you, they start smiling. So it's been a good time. And I think
They see me right away because I start the whole show.
That's right. The very first thing you see in this musical, Moana, is you get to see Betty coming out and
I'm just running around crazy. Not crazy, but I'm running around in a circle, and then I do a spin, and I see a seashell, and I pick it up and run away.
Oh.
Well, it's pretty graceful, and I also have a flower in there, which later Moana will have in her hair. Same flower.
The same flower.
Because
wow.
I'm Little Moana.
Yeah, that's right. You play Little Moana, so Moana is the name of the musical, and you get to be the first. Yay, we love it.
Yes, I am main character.
I love the main character. That's so cool.
I'm not a main character.
I know what you mean, though, but the Moana is. And in the chapter for today, we have another special lady who's the main character. What's her name?
She's the main character of her villagers.
Yeah, that's right, because we've read about Queen Esther before in the Old Testament.
You just gave it away! Okay, just erase that from your mind, and now I'll tell you who it was. Her name is a D.
Is what?
And an S. And a THER. What does that spell?
Almost getting there.
Wait,
let's hear it.
Wait. Oh, I see the paper. Queen Esther.
Queen Esther. Da 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 da. Long live the Queen. Well, here we go. Have you ever sat down with your relatives and listened to their stories about what life was like before you were born? They tell you stories about when they were little.
I don't.
Yeah. Well, if they decided to tell you the whole story about your family before you were born, I'd say after about 3 hours of listening to them, you'd probably want them not to say anything more. You use the B word again, right? That many kids today say when they're tired of listening to something, they say, this is what's the B word? Boring. I know it, I get it.
And be like, can I please go play my video game now so I can eat my nachos?
See that? And I have read and reread the Old Testament. Betty, I got to tell you something. In the Old Testament and the Apocrypha, it doesn't mention nachos. So, also, sometimes people only tell us the main things that happened before all this occurred, and then some things are left out. Well, in the Apocrypha, we hear about things that make some of the books in the Old Testament even a little more interesting because we have some more details. The book of Esther we're looking at today is a little bit like that. We have a beautiful book about Queen Esther and also her uncle, whose name was Mordecai, in the Old Testament. And today we have some more details. Now, you may remember that Uncle Mordecai and Queen Esther were both Jews who lived in the city of Susa in a place called
Uh,
Babylon. And
because you're
my finger's there. I know. That's what happens. I put it on the map, I might not
You're
see
like,
it.
Here's Egypt. I can't see it yet.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what happened. They were captured during the time of a man called King Nebuchadnezzar.
Why is it so long and hard to say?
I don't know.
I don't like his parents.
They gave him such a weird name. I understand that. Why couldn't they come up with something simple like
Why couldn't
Betty?
it be Simon?
Simon, that would have been easy. Well,
Or
you
like,
made
or like Jonathan.
Jonathan, that's a good one too.
Noah.
Noah would be easy, but not
I'm just thinking of names.
Nebuchadnezzar. Now you also
Don't
may
like his
remember.
name.
I know. Eventually, Esther became the queen, and Mordecai became a hero. Well, the story of Esther is so exciting. There's even been movies about her.
Nice.
But is there more? Let's see. It seems that Uncle Mordecai had dreams and visions from God. And in one of his dreams, he saw two dragons that came when there was lots of noise, including thunder and lightning and earthquakes.
Okay.
Yeah? And it seems that dragons can also roar because these two did.
Dragons are not real.
Well,
They're just what like I think like different countries make up what their dragons are like. So
yeah, different countries have different things that they've called dragons, that's for sure.
So dragons are not.
Well, but when you talk about St. George and the dragon,
Lizard.
I know. Then,
Dinosaur.
but what happened is all the nations in this dream were ready to fight each other. But one nation in this dream kept crying a lot. But this nation was crying to God. And in the darkness came a tiny spring of water. And as the darkness left, well, guess what? The spring became a river. Now, what did you get out of that dream of Mordecai just now that I told you about? Anything come to your mind?
He's being delusional.
Maybe be delusional. Let's find out. Well, this was all that Mordecai needed to see. Because you see, he figured it out right away. And you have to stick to the story to find out what it means. Because when he woke up from this dream, he remembered the dream. And he went over every single part of that dream as he thought about it.
I think at least 100 people in the world have remembered their dreams, including me.
I'm so glad when you
Sometimes I remember my dreams, but like a day later I'm like,
Yeah.
what happened in my dream?
Yeah.
3 days ago.
It was up there. Where did it
2
go?
days ago. I think I was eating a big slice of pizza and some nachos.
See,
And I
that's
was playing video games and
See?
watching TV all day.
Now here's what I think.
That's the life.
That's the life. I get it. But you want to know
it's
something?
Not. No, it's not.
I want you for a moment to pretend what Queen Esther and Uncle Mordecai would say if they just heard what you were saying.
They'd be like, dude.
They would.
No, like if they were modern, then yeah.
But
No.
they wouldn't understand, just like we can't always understand their dreams.
No.
Well, from the book of Esther in the Old Testament, you may remember that there was a nasty man named Haman who wanted to have Mordecai killed.
Oh, yes.
But Mordecai
I remember.
overheard two guards talking about the fact that they were going to kill the king.
Oh.
And remember, the king's name was Artaxerxes, and he was the husband
I don't like
of Queen I think you're going to find out that this king wasn't always normal.
Oh, did he always eat rats?
Well, I don't know that he ate them, but he had a few people working for him who act like rats.
Oh.
Well, Mordecai went, and he told the king, and the 2 guards were executed. Gone.
Wait.
Yep.
How?
Well, let's just say.
Rope and
Yeah.
wood.
Let me give you a little hint here.
What?
They didn't have to worry about having headaches anymore. Okay? So the king was really pleased with Mordecai.
Oh, and they couldn't sing.
They couldn't sing anymore. They were speechless. So he rewarded them. Mordecai was rewarded by the king. And as a result, the king wrote a wonderful letter about Mordecai that went into the permanent history book of the people in Babylon. Well, the king said some good things about the nasty man Haman in his letters, since he did not yet know how nasty Haman was. Well,
Did he not take a shower for 3 million years?
that would make somebody smell pretty nasty. That's for sure.
But his personality was nasty?
Yeah, sorry to say, kind of a nasty guy, and even if he had taken a shower, he'd still be a nasty guy. So, it's just
or
you.
if he would have said, I like your face.
See, that's right. The only difference is that you maybe wouldn't have smelled him coming. So here, until now, the king knew how trustworthy Uncle Mordecai was. So he rewarded him. And Uncle Mordecai, being a very religious Jew, prayed to God. It's a beautiful prayer, and you should read it sometime. But in the prayer, Mordecai points out to God that no matter what would happen, he would never bow down to Haman. Because Mordecai says, even though that's what Haman wants me to do, I only kneel and bow down to God. I do not take a knee when I'm talking about God. I believe and worship God. So, Haman didn't like that at all. But it was clear that the nasty Haman then hated all of the Jews in the kingdom.
So he ate a rat?
One would have thought so. But he didn't, and that's not why he had indigestion. So Mordecai and his beautiful niece, Queen Esther, were all upset. So they put on clothes, and they spread old clothes. They put ashes all over their heads because they were really upset.
Oh, is that how they're washing their face now?
They are getting ready. They can't do it yet. Can't do it yet. But for 3 days, they told God how sorry they were, and they had the ashes all over them. And on the 3rd day, then she washed off all those ashes, and she got into her beautiful, beautiful clothes.
I know why they put it on now, because they wanted to take a shower.
See? But then what happened is
They smell bad.
They smelled bad. But then what happened is that Queen Esther, being a religious Jew and praying, she also in her prayers told God that she had refused to eat and drink with this nasty Haman because she knew that he hated the Jews.
Okay.
And so we read about that in the Old Testament, but
But
here it tells us more.
She's just like, so hungry. I need water. Somebody give me
She
water.
But why did she not want to eat and drink with Haman? Well, it's
Because he smells.
because he was, a nasty guy. There you are. Oh my goodness. So,
He never took a shower in his life.
I think that probably in the next scene he won't need to, and I'll tell you why. Because she was a good prayer. And as I said, she prayed for 3 days straight. And then once she got all dressed up again as a queen, she went to see her husband, the king. And she was all worked up and she was crying. And he said, "What are you crying about?" And she said, "I'm crying about my Jewish people." Well, the king listened very carefully to his wife, which is a really good thing, by the way, when a husband listens to his wife, even if her husband isn't the king. But in order to make sure that no one misunderstood what was on his mind, you guessed it, he wrote a long, long letter. And it's also in this book.
I think I know what it says.
What's it say?
Haman is so stinky. So now go eat and then tell him to eat a rat.
See?
So,
This is
so
what
he
happens.
can smell nastier. So he could go to a trampoline park and get even more smelling bad.
You know what I'm thinking?
And then he'll die when he takes a shower.
You know what's happening here? This story is getting very ratty. So let's go back and let's become very radical. Okay? So here it is. In the letter, we know that Queen Esther must have said a lot to her husband, because in the letter he points out that he wants peace in his kingdom. And he also points out that Haman is not a peacemaker. In fact, he says Haman's family isn't even from Babylon originally.
Oh, I guess they're from... It sounds like they're from Egypt.
Well, actually Persia.
Oh.
And Haman has no business telling Babylonians what to do. The king also says that he's discovered what a nasty and arrogant man Haman is, and that the king is sorry that he had ever given Haman any authority at all, especially when he found out that it was Haman's plan to kill Mordecai. So, he goes on to write that Haman was a big fat liar, and that he tried to convince everyone. He was. And that he was trying, from eating all the rats. And because he wanted to convince everybody that the Jews were troublemakers. He also told people not to read any letters or directions given by Haman, since the king hates those letters and directions. The king went on to tell everyone in his letter that he wants this letter to be posted everywhere, so that no one will wonder what's on the king's mind, since the king believes that the Jews worship the right God, the God that is the good God, the one that they need to follow. In fact, he says, and this is in his own words, he says, "For God, who rules over all kings, has made this day to be a joy to his chosen people instead of a day of destruction for them." This was great news for Esther and her uncle, but really, really bad news for Haman and his family. Well, this letter really brought a lot of joy to Mordecai.
What happens to
Haman?
Haman?
Well, let's just say this. Every now and then, you've heard somebody say, "You know what? They lost their head over that."
He got hanged?
A little bit worse, but let's just say... Yes, you got it. Well, this letter really brought a lot of joy to Mordecai, and he was a very sharp guy. Yeah.
It was like...
Well, you know what they said. You know what they said now. Now they can look at their friends and say, "Been nice hanging out with you." But anyway, this letter really brought a lot of joy to Mordecai, and in this book, Mordecai thanks God because he knows that God made all this happen. But guess what? Remember that dream at the beginning of this chapter? Well, now Mordecai understands what God was telling him in the dream. So let's put down some of the points of the dream and find out what they mean, Betty.
Okay,
The tiny stream that came out of darkness into light in the river, that's Esther, who married the king and became the queen. And the two dragons, that's Haman and Mordecai. And the countries in the dream, those are the nations that wanted to destroy the name of the Jews. And the nation that was crying, that was Israel. So, now the dream was fulfilled. And the Jewish people were saved in the kingdom of Babylon. Plus, there's a high holy day that the Jews celebrate every year in February or March called Purim. Isn't it amazing what God does when people actually listen to him? Well, it doesn't end there. You ready for this?
What?
Remember the Egyptians?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Cleopatra?
Yes.
And her husband Ptolemy?
Yes.
Well, the letter written by the king in Babylon was taken to the Egyptians, and they were able to hear all about Mordecai and Esther, the Jews.
I actually read a book about Cleopatra.
Yeah, sometimes though you get to hear about somebody else with her named Anthony and not Ptolemy, so another time. Don't tell, especially don't tell Ptolemy.
God.
When they found out all about this
Yeah,
feast
don't
called
go to
Purim
his
in Egypt.
graveyard.
Oh, you don't want to do that. So do you see how important it is to be faithful and never give up your faith, even when others are fighting against God, either by being against Him or not believing in Him at all? Just remember good old Mordecai and his beautiful niece named Queen. And thank you, everybody. And say prayers for Betty because she's ready for her next performance. Yay!
Well, not physically.
Not physically, but I'll bet you have another one coming. You're tired. You've been performing. I know they're hurting. It's very difficult being an ocean. Thanks to you, everybody, and God bless you. Bye.
Bye.